Welcome back to Basin Motorsports for another day here in the garage. One of the big things I wanted to do this year in 2020 was put together a collaboration list called 15 Questions With. And it's going to be another creator that I admire or I watch answering 15 questions that I've come up with. To kick the series off here for 2020, we're talking with Craig from Throttle Stop Garage. Now, Craig is somebody I've been binge watching lately, trying to catch up on his series. He's currently building or rebuilding an older Volvo. Now, what makes it different is that Craig is replacing a lot of the body panels with carbon fiber. So he's making fiberglass molds to generate for fenders, headlight rings, and he's doing a complete suspension rebuild with a new engine cradle that I find really awesome and fascinating to watch. So we're going to get kicked off with Craig here from Throttle Stop Garage. And question number one is, Craig, what do you think the first tool somebody should buy if they're getting into the automotive realm?
This is a really difficult question, actually. I have no good answer for you. It really depends on what you're doing. If you're just going to be modifying and working on your car, probably a socket set and a quality one. The number one thing I could give you as far as a suggestion is to buy quality tools. Don't buy junky tools. If you have to save for a little bit longer in order to buy a quality tool, buy a quality tool. They only hurt once, right? Cheap tools hurt every time you use them. But if you're going to be working on bodies and things on cars and cutting panels off and doing that kind of work, I'd buy a really good quality grinder, actually, before I'd buy most of anything. Because if you start welding, you're mostly going to be grinding. You're not going to be welding. So just that kind of thing, focus on that. Never buy, just don't buy cheap abrasives. Don't buy cheap anything. It hurts too much.
I can totally see that would be a great asset to have initially. All right, so question two is going to be, with all of the magazines lately that have gone out of print, where do you see media going in the next 5 years?
I think we're here. I think this is it. I mean, people are looking for good content all the time. Why did I read magazines before? I read magazines to find out what was interesting and what was going on with people doing these kinds of builds specifically. I was interested in car stuff. I mean, I subscribed to Hot Rod magazine when I was 12, which is even before David Freiberger, I think, was part of the scene. Anyway, so yeah, I think this is it, right? We're going to be talking to each other on YouTube, and builders and creators like me are going to be providing that kind of content for people.
I can totally see that. I guess we're already there, right? The future is now. So talking about the future, what's the new technology or the next technology you're really looking forward to in the future?
Could someone get EVs right? I specifically am designing my project car so that eventually, sometime in the future, I can convert it with ease, right? I should be able to convert it to electrical power and be able to drive and enjoy it until I'm dead. Either that or I'll burn the last dinosaur while you guys are all running electrical cars. That's fine with me too.
Yeah, I agree. I think EVs are definitely going to be something on the horizon, and I agree. When they're cheap enough, you're going to see a lot more hot rod builds with them. So now I've seen in your garage a lot of different tools you use. You use welders, grinders. You're using a lot of carbon fiber and stuff. What is your favorite tool that you're using right now?
The 6 inches between my ears is my favorite tool generally. My favorite tool right now. I have a lot of tools. I'm a tool junkie. I admit it. Is there a 12-step program? There should be. Right now I'm building a lot of composite parts, so I'm working a lot with fiberglass and carbon fiber. My favorite tools, generally speaking, stuff that I've found, stuff that I build, right? It's kind of weird, but I found a little vacuum pump at a garage sale. It works perfectly for me. Other little things like favorite tools, single-sided razor blades, they're simple things, right? It's just what'll dig you out when you need a specific dig out on a project.
I totally agree with that. I think using your mind to forecast and foresee the future, and then using that to constantly hone in on your desire is it. So what is going to be your dream build if you could have one?
Build's right next to me. It's my 1966 Volvo Canadian. I've wanted one of these since I was a child. If everyone could stop asking me or telling me I should be building a Camaro or a Mustang or something like that. If you knew me better, you'd know if it's old and European, I like it. If it's old and American, it's okay if someone's resto modding it, but otherwise it's never resonated with me. So that's okay. Different horses for courses. Is that how that saying goes?
Well, that's fantastic that you're already building it now. You've been kind of on YouTube for a couple years now, building in that, and I'm sure you've gotten a lot of comments and a lot of other things. What's the biggest fear you have as a content creator?
I've never run out of ideas in my life, so I don't really have too many fears that way. Biggest fear. I will finish the project. Yeah, I crazy enough to start, stubborn enough to finish. So that'll be fine. I finished many of these before, so this isn't. It's not my first rodeo. I don't live in fear of the comment section. I just don't appreciate it when people make silly remarks. Whatever. Who does, right? Again, that's just weird. As I've said before, there isn't a big production team surrounding my little channel anyways. It's just me in my garage doing what I do. I just decided to tape it and talk to people. That was it. So I just, if I'm bringing that kind of content and people are enjoying it, I figure that's a good thing.
So for 2020, do you have something in mind for the next tool purchase you're going to do?
Actually, my next planned tool purchase isn't a purchase at all. I've already done the purchase. It's a build. So I'm going to be making an English wheel. I know I'm building composite parts right now, and everyone's kind of excited about the fiberglass and everything else, but you have no idea how much I dislike making fiberglass parts. I like making carbon fiber parts. Let me clarify that. I dislike making fiberglass molds. I work in a very small garage. It's not like small on the UK scale. So if you're in Canada, it's a small 2-car garage with a car and everything in it. So it's also winter, so it's really tough to get ventilation, and my planning is terrible. So instead of doing this in the summertime when I could have the doors open and I could be polluting the atmosphere of the neighborhood, I'm only polluting the atmosphere of my garage, unfortunately. So so my next build is I'm going to be making an English wheel, because I've got some wheeling work that has to be done on the inside, the back side of the car, and in the engine bay. I'm going to need compound curves. So I have no idea how to do that either, but I bought the wheels and I've been working on the other mechanical components in the background just whenever I get a chance. So that'll be the next. That's the one thing I'm looking forward to in terms of tools. I'm always looking forward to a new tool.
I think I need one of those in my garage also. I'm going to have to watch to see what you come up with on that. If you could have coffee with an automotive celebrity that you haven't met yet, who is that going to be?
Automotive celebrity. Is Rich DeBoss an automotive celebrity? He's more of a heavy-duty mechanic guy, but the other day on his 10 questions, he said he wanted to meet somebody who was 50 years old, who liked doing body work, who would be sort of, just around but would be okay with going away. And I thought, hey, Rich, I'm right here. No, I live a long way away from Rich, so that'll never happen. But there's a guy I could imagine going to Tim Hortons with, right? So cheers, Rich. DeBoss Garage. Watch the channel.
Now that would be an interesting conversation just to be the fly on the wall kind of listening to. Next question. Suppose you're walking through an abandoned warehouse and you come across a car or truck just sitting there and it is yours. What would you want that car or truck to be?
Car that I would like to find abandoned. It isn't an Aston Martin DB5. I have dreams of rebodying one of those. Just, instead of doing a Crown Hick, do a Aston Martin on a Crown Vic chassis. Or something like that. That would be fun. I think my wife would kill me though. Cars I'd like to find in a barn. It's the one that keeps popping back up into my mind is a Jag E-Type. And an early one, a Series 1, a Series 1.5. Not a Series 3 for sure. So let's go with that.
So now, speaking of media over the last 5 years, you've probably seen a lot of cars, especially in the hot rod realm and that. What do you think has been the worst trend over the last 5 years in the automotive?
Stick-on fenders. What is that? I'm too old to get that. The stick-on cheap ABS thing with the open on cars, like everyone's sticking them on every car. They look like garbage on almost every car I've ever seen them on. You just hack and chop away the outsides of fenders. Style-wise, they don't fit the car at all. Design-wise, they're crap. Have I hacked on that enough yet? I think so. Yeah, stop doing that.
Well, I guess thankfully I don't technically have any of those here in the garage, but I'm probably stepping on the line with my wide body. What do you think is going to be the next big trend coming up in the automotive realm in the next 5 years?
Obviously, electric vehicles are going to be they are the big trend currently. And then we're waiting on, again, the hot rodding customizing community to take over that, because that makes it, I mean, that's the sign that things have gotten cheap. And when they get cheap, they get good, generally speaking. I've always wanted to race one of those. I think it'd be fun. Not me against them, me in them. That would be different.
Well, then I guess we're going to have to wait. Maybe in 5 years I'll put on my calendar to contact you and see, did your forecast or foreplanning come to fruition over these next 5 years? So over the course of your working career in that, what is the single worst job you've ever had?
Never have I ever done a job that I didn't like at some level. I'm a completely terrible employee if I'm not interested. I wouldn't make it a day, so I wouldn't have even applied. So I don't think I've ever had... I've done some terrible jobs, but they're always out of necessity. So I used to work construction work back in the day. There were a number of those. Anytime you have a plumbing thing, you don't want to talk to me about that. But I've done that kind of work. Any sort of that kind of stuff is always pretty nasty.
All right, so going back to the celebrity piece, is there someone like a content creator or a YouTuber that you would like to work with in 2020?
I have no desire to work with content creators. Where am I going to do this? I live in the middle of nowhere in Canada. I like the question though. If I was doing a flyaway, I think the only person that I'd be super interested in spending some time with is George Corrales from Soup Classic Motoring. Hi George, hopefully you're watching. I think his stuff's brilliant and probably some of the best content on YouTube for car stuff. And I think he'd just be an interesting guy to go down to the pub and have a beer with. But I'm reasonably certain as he's in Ireland and I'm in Canada, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I was recently watching some of George's stuff too. It's really kind of interesting him doing the stop motion piece, watching the video and kind of how he does that. It's way beyond, I guess, something I would think that I would want to do. Just all the details and little pieces to that. I think it's fascinating, but I just don't know that I would have the patience and the time to do exactly what he's doing. So are you going to go anywhere or do any events in 2020?
Events are you attending in 2020? None. I'm not going anywhere until this thing's done. I know you can't see it. It's right there. Everything in my garage is right there. That's just the same way that you are. So I'm not planning on doing anything this year except for working as hard as I can to try to get the elements of this car finished that need to be finished. So I'd like to have it as a roller this year. I'd like to get engine-based stuff and interior stuff and everything else finished up. There's a million details to do everywhere. There's wiring, there's painting, there's upholstering, you have no idea how many things I'm working on in the background, but it's quite a few.
Well, I hope you get your Volvo done sooner than you expect to, and maybe you can get it out to an event this year or potentially next year. We'll all be watching to see what happens. All right, so the last question is, what would be your favorite car or truck of all time?
Actually, the Volvo Canadian would be at the top of the list. If you've never driven in these things, you're missing out. They're small-ish. They, even in stock form with a few engine modifications, they can be pretty snappy. They're nice that way. I have no aspirations of Italian fancy cars, or I'm not a Cobra guy. Muscle cars don't really, whatever. That's frustrating, isn't it? Right? It's just, I like old and I like European. I don't know why. There's a style thing, but even, if you've ever driven in one of these old heaps, they're just a lot of fun. They're super light. They're very comfortable. They're just nice cars. I think, every once in a while, car manufacturers kind of get it right. And yeah, new cars are totally different. They're a total spaceship. They're another thing. In fact, I was just watching a Mighty Car Mods, and Moog was going on about just a sense of feeling that you get when you're driving in an old car. So I like old cars. I think that there's a thing of driving in a car, not driving on a car, or just driving, period. So those are sort of three different things. You drive in one of these, some other crappier cars you drive on because you feel you're not part of the experience. And then thirdly, the ones that you're just along for the ride, which are most new cars that I've driven in. You're merely along for the ride. So I like to feel like I'm important when I drive. I like to feel the road. And probably this car's been among the best for that totals, right? So, and it also just fits me. Like some cars fit you well, and other cars don't. This car fits me. It fits my personality. It fits the way that I kind of see the world. So I think that's why would I spend so much time working on a car if this wasn't your dream? That's the only advice I ever give to anybody when they ask, is I always say, well, you know, there's a rule, and if you would purchase a car, not sight unseen, let's not go, this is the cheapest one I found on the internet, whatever, bollocks, right? I always say if you would buy the car and you wouldn't discuss it with your spouse or significant other, and it was within your financial reach or just past it, but you would go to the bank and you would get a loan. Think about that one, and then go, what's that car? 'Cause it's not a Lamborghini Miura. It's not. Like, you don't have the financial wherewithal to buy that car. And if you do, hey, congratulations, go buy one, or at least try. The rest of us are, I mean, this is one of those forever cars for me, right? I'll probably be putting the ground in the thing. It'll for sure outlast me. But anyway, I think that's super important for any build, because any fool can take a car apart. Only the truly foolish can put them back together and enjoy them when you drive them. So don't start a project if it's not a labor of love, because there's far too many. We see them in the junkyard all the time, right? You know, they all start with enthusiasm and they end in tears down in the junkyard. So it's like, spend years taking the car apart, imagining you're going to do something with it, and then turn it around and haul it to the junkyard. I do have one of those in my past, actually, but only the one.
All right, guys, so those are the 15 questions, and I want to say thank you to Craig at Throttle Stop Garage for spending some time answering my questions. I think some really good information there in what he's doing, and hopefully you guys want to go check him out. So I will put up a link up above directly to his channel. I will also put one down in the description if you want to go see what Craig is doing over at Throttle Stop Garage. Check him out. I think you guys will be pretty impressed with the work he is putting in on his Volvo project. So that's it from this time from Basin Motorsports. Again, 15 questions with. If you have somebody you want to see here on the channel, let me know. Drop them down in the comments, give me a suggestion, or go directly to them and say, hey, you need to contact Basin Motorsports and get in on the 15 questions with for 2020. That's it. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.